talked a little bit last week or 2 weeks ago. It was 2 weeks ago, right, guys? Was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
We talked about essentially comparing chess and X-Wing together, which we've been doing for a little while. What I wanted to do is we want to kind of go back through that again, right? Like, so we started off with a whole bunch of different theories. We talked about middle game, opening, end game. We talked about all of the different concepts, what a material count is, what your basic concepts become. We talked about what opening theory principles are, developing your piece, controlling the center of the game, coordinating your pieces to maximize their potential, protect your king, which we kind of determined we don't really have many kings. Don't bring your queen out too early, and don't be an idiot, which was whatever, you know. That's don't fly like me with Mark Steele. How about that?
Yeah.
So then 2 weeks ago we went through and said these are the 8 principles we felt. These are the 8 principles we felt would be the part of the opening theory of X-Wing. So essentially they fit into 2 categories: setting up your your lists and your loadouts and all of that, and understanding all your interactions. And then the other piece is kind of setting up the board state for what you want to fly. So tonight, what I wanted to do is I want to go through board state rather than going through the list stuff. And then we'll cover that for the next part of the opening segment. And then we'll actually be able to move into kind of what we consider mid-game. Mid-game. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring TTS up here. And that was smart. All right, there we go. Now we got TTS. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of go through each of these different ships, or not ships, each of the different objectives, and kind of talk a little bit about opening. So George has graciously set up a crappy FO bomber list that everybody flies, and has set up the resistance list that I flew against in Michigan GT for it.
It's got your boy Finn on it.
It does. All right, so let's talk a little bit. The first thing I think we want to talk about is, so obviously we have our center objective. We want to talk about objective placement and obstacle placement, right? So those are the 2 first things. And then all of that is led into by a battle plan, right? So the battle plan that you have essentially is designed, right, for how you want to fly and what is your objective and your outcome. So tonight we're just going to go through kind of some generic things. So let's do obstacle placement first. So what we're going to do is, JJ, are you in TTT or TTS as well, or no?
I'm not able to get into TTS right now, but I can see what you guys are doing. Yeah.
All right. So go ahead, George, and grab 6 obstacles, and then you could pick which side do you want to be. Did we lose George?
Nope, I'm here. I like my debris.
Good choice.
All right, which side are you picking?
I'll be on the FO side, I guess.
Okay. All right, and then if you want to grab, then for me, I would like to have the gas clouds. Grab me 3 gas clouds, please. So the idea here, and like I said, we did this a little bit before, but the idea here is you have to create pathways and these different things for all of your ships, right? And so the idea here is that George has all these different debris clouds here, right? And his goal is to be able to grab objectives in any which way, which his list does very well, and make it so that he can have the optimum shooting ability, right? So we're going to give you 2 objective tokens, and I will take 2 objective tokens.
And I'm assuming you guys are doing like a setup for either assault or scramble. So
we'll start. Yep, we're going to go ahead and start with assault. So George, you can have first player, and you go ahead and set your objectives up first.
Okay. Hmm. I usually put mine. Oh gosh, it's a little bit jumpy. Right about there.
All right. I will put mine right here in the center. Next.
Very good, sir.
All right. Which one are we playing?
Whichever.
Assault.
Assault is fine.
Yeah.
All right. So if we're playing assault, then I'm taking your other one and putting it down here.
Okay.
And so the reason I say those things, if we're playing assault, the reason I say we want to move this one down here is because I want to force his ship to come over here and either take this one, and I don't want to give him the ability to clog all the center up. So if you see here, we have 4 objectives already. I do not want to give George the ability to add this other one over here, right? Or you can't go there, or over here or anything like that, because what that means is George can kind of put his objectives or his obstacles and his ships in a way that he can hit multiple of these objectives.
Now, I do want to ask a question for the two of you guys, right? So obviously here you guys have pre-made the list here. The first one here is what we in the community known as Crispy's list, which is a combination of Kylo and the TIE Whisper with 2 FO fighters and 2 Fombers, and then on the other side is a Resistance list of 3 Y-wings, Finn, and a Chewie Falcon. Now, based on what you're seeing across the board, if you were, let's say, flying against a 3-ship list, like more large bases, would you consider doing a different setup, or are you setting it just based on what you're seeing across the board?
For me, it's based on the amount of ships we have. So if I have, I run CIS. If I'm running more than, let's say, 3 ships, then I don't mind spacing them out more. And typically, if I'm running that, I'm starting my one over here in a corner to say I'm gonna plant a droid on a rock. Now, because I'm not running that, I want to put it closer to the center because I have Y wings that are gonna kind of come through here and try to circle around and grab these points.
Okay.
So my idea would be is this Y wing would come here, right? And it will kind of come around in this fashion, kind of like this. And then that way I'm always getting points. And then I'm using my other ships to kind of, carry on. So for example, I don't know where Chewie is, but then Chewie's going to line up on one of these other sides so that if you're going to either go away from the objective points, or I'm going to have Chewie kind of flanking you ready for those kills.
Okay. George, what about you? Do you do a different setup for your objective placement based on what you're seeing across the board, or do you have a pretty set just according to your own list?
Usually it's dependent on the list that I'm running. So if my list, like this one, for example, um, just thinking ahead, I'm gonna try to create certain lanes that I want you to go through. So I'm gonna try to my best to create those lanes with not just the objectives, but like the obstacles as well. So I'm placing my objectives first, obviously in a position where like I know um he's going to go to. So now my task after this is, all right, how am I going to get those obstacles to create certain lanes that I know he's going to go through and doesn't have many options.
Okay.
All right. So you go ahead and place your first obstacle. And after I told him where my Y wings are going to go.
Put that one right there between those.
Okay. So while Chris is setting up his obstacle there, did you have a particular plan in terms of like, or I'm sorry, here's a question. So after seeing obstacles being deployed, and seeing that maybe the obstacle placement is not favorable to your particular list, do you use any type of strategy to use obstacle placements to counter deploy against the objective placement?
So, I guess. I mean, a lot of my time is spent like just creating the ideal like space that I want to have, depending on the list that I'm running. But if I see that he placed an obstacle in a not so ideal place, I'm gonna make it as hard as I can with my obstacle place. Sorry, with his objective placement, I'm gonna make it as hard as I can for him on the obstacle placement, for him to kind of get access to that objective.
Okay.
All right. I placed my second one. Where do you want the third one to go?
Oh, I put this one there.
Oh, okay. Sorry. All right. So he's putting it there. What I'm then going to do is put one right here. Because what I'm doing is still creating my lanes for my Y-Wings if I want them. And I'm giving him an illusion that since he already knew my plan, it gives a little bit of the illusion if that's what I want to do, I can make that happen.
Okay.
And then the last one that we have here, put right in front of it to force him to not be able to go straight in on an angle. So the last piece is to say, I don't want to completely actually block this up because I'll probably use this lane for Chewie, or I'll use this lane for Chewie, because those are the two big open lanes.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So there's our obstacle placement.
Yep.
Okay.
So now, again, JJ, when you were talking earlier about, hey, what is some of these different things? When we talk about the battle plan, my battle plan is already in my head what I want to do with my things, but it's loose enough that I'm not going to have to be, like, oh, I have to have Chewie over here. And it's just kind of the same way when we run the CIS stuff. Typically, I will put Jango closer to the center to go either way and Grievous on one side. That way, if I need to put Grievous and Jango together to attack something, I can, or I can move them in opposite directions. And it kind of gives a little bit of flexibility in that piece of it. With Resistance, I haven't ran a lot of Resistance, honestly. But typically what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that you have something being able to cover all these different objectives and still get maximizing your output.
Okay.
So I think are you first? You're second player. You were first player, right? So
We didn't register.
yeah, I didn't. We didn't roll.
Yeah, we didn't roll. But
Oh, I'm
let's
white.
say let's say
George. Let's assume George had first player.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
placed your obstacles first, so
Yeah. Yeah.
hmm So I would bring my little guy here.
So while you're setting up your ships here, let's kind of tie in a little bit of our setting up our kings, our queens, our rooks, and our knights up here. For me, the FO bomber would probably qualify like a bishop type character. So does it make sense to, in this particular scenario, setting him up towards the center, or towards like the flanker so that we can come in towards the center?
Well, everybody does differently. Obviously, I'm not Crispy or Andrew
Yeah.
Cox playing this list. But seeing how this list works, I'm okay with having my bomber sort of centered, but because my next position for, let's say, Dread, he's a pilot skill 3, which I'll place mine first, would look something like this,
Okay.
basically. Because now I have different, with the maneuverability of these ships, I can go in any direction that I want, and they can close the gap pretty easily. So depending on
Okay.
which lane I see him going through, that's where I'm probably going to go.
Okay.
see, and then here's kind of where I would put my Kai. I have no idea what initiative we're at. think Kai goes down technically before Dread,
Yeah,
but
there's
that's where I went.
2.
Yep.
All right, so now we're like up to 4. Yep, so my 4s, which is just Scorch. Scorch kind of in the center. Again, I want to leave myself options to go into either side of the board that I can, and I also want to be close enough to like these early objectives that I can probably cap early on.
Yep. And I will place the other bomber over here to kind of say if he's going to take all of his effort and come focus on these two, Merry Christmas. And then I'm taking my Kaz and putting my Kaz kind of over here. I probably would rotate it a little bit. Won't rotate from whatever. But
Yeah.
I would probably put Kaz over in this corner over here to kind of give a little bit of support to Kai to kind of say, hey, where do you want me to be? And then, so now I have an option with Chewie. If I put Chewie over here, I know the probability of him coming this way with both his bombers is pretty high. If he wants to burn Chewie down. I could be neutral and put Chewie right here to go either which way. Or I could take my Chewbacca and put him all the way on top of Kaz. And put him over here. Because then that says is what I want you to do is come after these two. The only issue becomes is he's too slow to do anything. Finn's going to do nothing. But Finn does have the lane to come through here and collect this objective, then this one pretty easily. Whereas I could take Wilsa into the same avenue, or Wilsa can kind of come up and come around. I would probably traditionally put Chewie right here. I don't know if that's right or not. Again, I haven't played a lot of Falcon play.
Yeah.
But I would probably stick it here.
Would you consider putting Chewie there just to make up for Finn's lack of mobility and kind of give him a little bit of cover until he makes it to that point?
No, yes and no. Chewie is more of an option to shoot at, but if I put Chewie and Finn together, what I get then is the ability to have one of them kill something. So if you go after Finn and try to eliminate him, Chewie gets to shoot twice. If you're gonna go after him, the only issue I have with Chewie being here is if I run Chewie this way, I'm horribly predictable where I'm gonna be here. Whereas if I run him this way, I can come in at these 2 points specifically. If I want to move him right through the center of that board. Or I could take Chewie all the way around out here and just kind of circle. This gives me one lane in if I don't come in here.
Okay.
So traditionally, I would probably feint this way very slowly. And what I would do is bring these up to the point where I know for round 2 and 3, I'm going to get this objective and possibly this one.
Okay.
And then that forces him to come into the field and get rid of his stupid clouds.
Yeah.
And if he runs it slow through here, then we're going to be even on points. And by that point, I'm going to be able to take Chewie this way and then harden if I want to, or I can avoid the clouds. Because if he comes in with his bomber this way, I just kind of start moving Chewie away and then circling back.
Okay. So now that Chris has placed his Chewie on the board here, do you continue with your battle plan, or do you adjust according to how he's deployed his Falcon?
Well, I mostly, would have done the same thing he did. Mostly also because of Chewbacca's ability. So you kind of also want to keep him close to like your buddies in case they go down first. Chewie can trigger. But ultimately, like my game plan, the game plan with these guys doesn't really change much. I'm always going to place kind of similarly. The objectives are in a really good spot for me. I feel really good about getting these 2 objectives early game. And then the only thing, because I know he's gonna lean more this way, I already know that I'm gonna be using Grudge, and I'm also gonna be placing my last ship, Kylo, on this edge of the board as well. Still learning how to play Kylo, to be honest. I'm not sure what the best positioning is for him, but we'll say that's good. Because I anticipate, because of the placement of the objectives, it's going to be heavy right here. So right now I'm looking at Grudge leaning more into this direct. How do you draw?
You have to click
F2.
the.
Oh, here it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I anticipate Grudge, or sorry, yeah, that is Grudge, heading into this direction, and that would make me take Dread into this direction as well. While Malarus, I am keeping more into the flanks so he can take care of that objective, and possibly taking this lane here. So it's going to lean into this general area, and you can kind of see where it's going. Like Scorch would probably be open to just taking this lane and come into the battle a little bit late after Dread, or maybe even before, depending on what he does here, because I still want to contest the middle area. So Dread is going to be my cloud person if he does go into the middle area, while Grudge is going to be my cloud person trying to take care of his middle one right here, basically.
Okay. Now, Chris, knowing that you have the initiative disadvantage here when it comes to dealing with Malarus and Kylo, which is kind of like the heavier punching ships here for George's list, how aggressive do you think you would be with your ships to try to make sure that you're in a position to control those points? Would you be more aggressive to do like a really fast opening maneuver to get in a better position, or will you kind of take it slow to kind of react to how he's positioning his ships?
More or less, I want to take it slow.
Okay.
There is some discussion about bringing Chewie in this way and then bringing him actually right through the center to contest these two ships. Because if I force Dread or Grudge to come here, then Chewie has a lane. Okay, I don't know why that's bigger, but Chewie has a lane to go that way.
That's a thick line.
Yeah, that is a thick line.
I don't know how it's thick. I don't know why it did that, but it's
That's awesome though.
it's when I touch this thing.
Yeah, when you touch the objective. Yeah, that's so weird.
That's definitely an error. So there could be something to say about bringing Chewie in first and then bringing Finn around and Wilsa. I would also actually that's Wilsa, right? Yeah, I think that's Wilsa. To kind of contest the center here. With Kaz is always going to go slow because I have the ability to go faster if needed later on. And so against Kylo, so I'll just tell you right now, against Kylo, Kaz has got a great matchup. So you have an initiative 5, I'm an initiative 4. Until I get 5 damage cards, I'm always going to have the extra dice. Whereas this guy is not, This guy's a 4, so we're evenly matched, and this is a 3. So this is the only one I have to worry about shooting at me as much with Kaz. The other ones, not so much. And Kai is here to work on ionizing your bomber. Because then you cannot perform a boost.
Mm-hmm.
So the long story short is I probably would not go in fast, JJ. I would go in a little bit slower to see if he's going to take this route, kind of like what he said, or if he changes his tune and starts to come both of these bombers into here. That way each bomber can go each way to chafe and then dump proxies.
Okay.
And that's why some of me needs to get this Chewbacca in here, or at minimum get this Chewbacca around here, so that way it isn't. My guess is I would take Chewbacca this way, though. This is where all the action's going to be at.
Okay, that's fair.
and Finn's gonna have to get there as fast as possible. So
I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't even bring Finn into the fight. Like, I would just have him cruise around over here on the first objective, so that you always have that, and then not have to worry. That's kind of Finn's job, to be honest. And if it was the one where you grab crates, that's also his job. Grabbing crates.
yes, if we were playing grabbing the crates, that would be the same thing. My setup would be a lot different, though.
Yeah.
I would not have Chewie right here. We would have started with Finn right here. And then I would have had this Wilsa over here, and then I would have put my Chewbacca over here. And then that way you're either going to come after my objective getters, or you're going to come after Chewbacca. And if you line your other ships up over here, Chewbacca is just 3-harding and boosting all day long and running away from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was great for that particular scenario. Now, if you don't mind, we can actually probably do like a recreation of the battle that I had with George back in the last Galaxies tournament. I added the list in the Discord, so if you guys want to load up this list, and let's do scramble the transmission scenario, and let's kind of like walk through just so we can see if there's any differences in how we would set up in that particular scenario with those two different archetypes.
We're going to start over here. Delete.
Yeah, you could just trash the lists. Now, for those who are not familiar with the list, I'll kind of run them down here. For George's list, he has a CIS list that has Jango Fett in the Fire Spray. There's also General Grievous in the Belbalab and a bombardment drone, as well as 2 vultures. One of them is the Doofus droid, and then a standard Separatist vulture. For Scum, it's going to be a 3-ship list. One of them is Boba Fett in the Fire Spray. The other one is Eamon Zaman in the Fire Spray. And then to finish off that list, Kanan Jarrus in the HWK, the Hawk, for those ships. Now, we're just going to load just the basic ships here. No fancy loadouts or anything. We're doing it mainly just to show the setup here for turn 0 for these ships here. And we'll get those set up here for you guys.
What obstacles did you use, George? The large ones?
Yeah.
All right.
Same ones. I usually stick with the same obstacles. It does depend on the list. Sometimes bringing gas clouds is good.
Yeah.
Not if you're going to land.
Now, I know Chris is very familiar with my start out, so we'll go through this here. So let's say, just for the sake of for time, let's say that Chris had the initiative here, and we're going to do scramble the transmission. So just 3 objective points, 1 for each here. Chris can go ahead and place his first one.
Okay, your turn.
Right.
You have
So I see
Kira.
that I saw you guys similarly place the objectives on each other's side, pretty much equal to each other. Any particular reason or like strategy why you would put it like in that particular area?
So for me, the reason I'm putting his up closer is because I want my ships to be able to engage on these 2 sides. And that if he really wants to leave a ship over here to grab that objective, he's more than welcome to. I will try my best to force the rock placement to not be there or in between these two. So,
Okay. What about
but
you, George?
I like mine up here to say I have a harder time taking those with that list with Boba Eamon. So, being able to take two or have two in my area that can be taken is pretty good.
For me, there's really no strat. I don't really have a particular reason why I do things on scramble. I just kind of keep everything sort of even. And then I let my objectives do most of the plan. Like that's my setup is the planning. Not so much objectives for this, but rock
The
placement.
obstacle appointment. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, Chris, go ahead and deploy your first rock.
Oh, why you do that? That's my favorite.
I know, that's why I took it. I run the same bloody list. And what it does is so here, let me explain to you. It forces you, it stops you from putting two droids or one droid to catch two of these.
Mhm.
And it forces you to come farther off of that rock so that you're not obstructed anymore for when I shoot you for this objective. So you can sit on here. I will let you sit there, but you're going to come farther off of it. And you're not going to go straight up the center.
Now,
do I get Kira? This
Yes,
all depends on if I have Kira.
You do have Kira. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Now, here's a follow-up question to that, Chris. Now, if he didn't have droids, would you have placed that in a different spot?
Yes.
Okay.
Cool. Yes, 100%. Yes. I would not. I would. Him having droids, I have to stop some of that. The ability here. Now I have a little droid too because I'm Eamon with Kira, so you know.
Yeah.
I have a little bit different of an ability than before, but yes, I would not have started with that one. I would have left that one for third placement. There you go. So I would have, if he could not land on them, I would have picked one of these other rocks to begin with and not left the fact, because you could still 5K through that or 5 straight through this, right? To get to that objective. And then you're only stressed. Whereas if I put a rock there, you're not going to go through that obstacle because that is a possible 2 damage.
Yeah. All right. So it's your rock placement, Chris.
And there's a second one. Look, he's doing everything for me. I don't even have to put a rock there.
Still gotta fly.
I got Kira. I'm gonna go through that rock. That was my next placement. Was going to be right here, just so you know.
Sounds good. I'm just placing rocks so I can park on them. That's all I'm doing.
We know.
So in this particular list here, you're prioritizing the placement of the rocks specifically to tailor to your droids for this one.
Yep. Okay. So this one right here, number 2 is because I can basically just park them here, and I have range for 2, basically 2 objectives. Yeah, he pretty much. That's a good range. Check range. Check range. The droid's in the middle.
Yep. I think actually if you I think you could almost go over there, but I'm not sure.
And had he not placed this rock, for instance, this asteroid would have gone here basically.
Yeah.
So so that sort of prevented that from happening, but at the same time, I'm okay with that because now, you're creating lanes still, and lanes is also what I want because I need you to go through a predictive path. So like Boba and not Boba, sorry, Jango. This is Daddy.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's go to deployment now for your list here. Now, I believe Kane and Jarrus would be the first one to deploy
Nope.
since Chris
is
the initiative.
Was I a first player?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm probably putting him right here.
Hmm.
Now you're all your threes.
Yeah, and my threes are pretty straightforward. So put them in a spot where I can easily get to the middle of that rock that I told you about. That's probably where I'll place him. My other guy, he is going. You know what? I'm actually okay with parking him in the middle. He's probably going to go island hop in here. So a couple rounds, I would park him. Idea is to park him here first, and then when I come off, like I can at least still grab that. He slowed me down just a little bit, and then the bomber, I would put him there.
All right. And then your initiative 4, Chris.
Well, I guess it all depends. I'll probably put him right there. You got to put your Grievous. Well, that made all of that easy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason I put Grievous there. I want Grievous to be wherever Kanan is going to be. Reason for that is because I know he's going to partner up Kanan with somebody, whether it be Boba or Iman. That ship, he's technically, if I know this list, I think the way that I would fly is Kanan and somebody, one of these guys, just partner up, being fairly close to each other, or close enough, anyways. And the reason why I put Grievous there is because it doesn't really matter where I place Grievous, because there's always going to be one ship that's going to be placed after Grievous. So I put him there, so then I could bring in Jango and put him in the same spot and challenge Boba's placement as well.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep. So what I would do in my initial take off is keep Jango going forward, and then make Grievous kind of faint, see where he's going first, and then if he keeps going straight, I don't know what he's doing with the emo, and that's the thing. So I think my planning with Grievous is just see what he's going to do first, and then plan around that. So I couldn't really do anything with Grievous with his I-5.
So you would say that in your approach, you're a little more passive in setting up your drones to park, as well as how fast you move with Django and Grievous, just to react to your opponent.
Yeah, I'm most likely going to slow roll this because I'm not going to get into the fight immediately with my droids on objectives like this.
Okay.
Because it still takes an action to grab these things. So I'm waiting to see what he's going to do first so that I can place my droids in ideal spots where they're not just going to get blown up to bits. So whether or not I go on that rock, even though I place my droid there, that's still up to me to decide if that's his final placement, where he's going.
Okay. And what about you, Chris? Prior to Django's placement, what were your thoughts? Were you placing Django or Boba just to face off against Grievous, and that's why you placed them on that side?
It's because he has 4 ships here. I get 4 rerolls. I'm gonna be able to come in and Chafe Cloud and get 4 rerolls. 3 because before Django.
Nice. Okay.
So
Yeah,
where if I were running this list, I would have Grievous over here, just personally, That's how I would use Grievous with this setup, because I got to place him after Eamon. I would have probably put Django here or here. And then what I would have done with Grievous is I would have 5-straighted, boosted, puts me up here, and probably a little bit back here, I think. I think that's the 5-straight. And then depending on where Eamon goes is depending on what I do with Grievous. Because then I can either cut hard in, or I can use Grievous as bait against Eamon. And if Eamon wants to do nothing but attack Grievous, whatever. You know, like you're probably not going to kill him. And you're going to get one good engagement, and then Grievous is going to just kind of run away. That's going to be his goal.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But with the way this is set up, I'm bringing Eamon in. I'm 3-banking Eamon, target locking this rock to make you think I'm going to come through here. And then I'm going to 1-bank, take that objective. And again, unless you did 4 or 5 straight. So if you really did just your 2 straight here, you know, to put you right here with these, I'm coming in aggressive to grab that objective. So if you do come in, you're going to have long ball shots against them. And I've got a free objective. I don't even care about this one now.
Yeah, but seeing you, it's going to take you a couple turns there. So by the time you end up like here, I'm already adjusting with my separatist drone to head in this direction. To eventually, if I know he's going to be left alone, yeah, you can sling a mine in this direction. I don't know what sort of or seismics. You have seismics.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's doing 1 damage. You know,
I got
so unless you
proxies
want to
too.
shoot him.
Yeah.
Proxies. I would stay far enough away. The seismics is what's more danger to my droids, but I have bombs too. So like if you really did want to bring in Boba can't re-roll whatever bombs they're gonna do. So
Yep.
That's also my thinking of bringing in my bombardment drone and Jango Fett in to joust you, and then Grievous is just kind of doing his little dance of like maybe one hard, and then see where the final placement is going to be before he decides where he wants to go. The reason why I didn't put him here in this particular setup was, again, because I knew that there was going to be a similar Kanan was going to buddy up with somebody, and then if I had kept Grievous, the danger with placing Grievous here, I've ran into this situation plenty of times. Yes, he has an objective, but the objective point is not going to matter as much as a dead ship. So like if Grievous only captures one objective and you've killed my bombardment drone, that's not a good trade, in my opinion. So that was my thinking.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I like that. I like to hear both of your sides' strategy for it. The other part is, of course, making sure that you don't 4K Eamon off the board. Yeah, that happened in our fight, man. Gosh, I'll never forget that.
That's crazy. Yeah, so technically, I probably would not want to joust you right here. I would probably come in with Kanan behind, and then I'd do the same thing with Boba, and then depending on how fast she would go would depend on whether I kind of come back in. Because with the ability to shoot out both sides, I could just go through this center here.
And then I have veteran tail gunner, right? On Boba. So yeah, makes sense.
He's kind of incentivized to go into the heart of the formation and start shooting.
I'm better off to let Kanan float around on this side and bring Boba this way, and then that make your Jango start chasing my Boba. Like, I honestly think here Boba gets a slight advantage over Jango, and that's only because I get to move first and I get the rerolls. But if you can get your bombardment drone up here really quickly, he's going to be sad. He'll be very sad.
Yeah. And that's why I typically I bring him in. I want my opponents in particular to take shots at Jango first, because I'm more confident Jango will live through the first, initiative contact than a bombardment drone.
Yeah.
bombardment drone can blow up just with 2 ships firing at it. It's even 1, depending on it. Like if it's a Jedi, he can pop.
Yeah.
So
And the other reason to bring Boba on this angle here is because this is kind of where my Shafe Cloud can be.
Yep.
So the only issue I have is I like my Shafe Cloud to be blown up by what's his face here. But
oh, you throw a seismic towards it?
I yes, that was kind of my
That's fine.
that was what I had been doing is launching the Shafe Cloud to strip the tokens and then bringing Iman in back behind it to blow it up.
Yeah.
More than one time because I can hit I can hit 3 of these fuckers. That's 3 free damage. And that's not even blowing the Shafe Cloud up. And if it's about to disappear anyway, then I just got rid of all that cover for it. So
All right. I think that was definitely really great to see you guys, your points of view for setting up these this turn 0 for both these lists. I think it was very informative.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us tonight.